Okay, so let's get started this morning, guys. Now, typically on the Friday webinar, what we discuss is a bit of, hey, this is what I called and predicted for this week. This is how it played out. Some worked, some didn't. We made a bunch of money. We didn't make a bunch of money. You know, we talk all about that, which I think is very good. And we're gonna spend a lesser amount of time on that, right? Some of our trade recommendations and how things played out, and how to better take advantage of those. And I also want to talk to you guys a little bit um, about what we need to know as traders. So, and there's a lot there, obviously, but part of my trading career has been dedicated to instruction, right? So, for the last 15 years that I've been trading, part of that time, maybe half of that time, has been dedicated to training and instruction and so on, and working with traders in group settings and webinars and in this kind of training, trade groups and so on, and one-on-one sessions, right? And so I've got this like wealth of voluminous information of what I see happen with traders like crazy. Most of you guys, you know traders, you know a few people, you've seen in the chat, you read things and you kind of see what people do. So you probably have a pretty good idea of kind of a bit of a general attitude of traders as well. I have worked with thousands and thousands of traders in one-on-one, in group, in all kinds of different settings, and I'm kind of like the tech support guy, right? So when you call because your computer's not working and you bought a Mac computer, for example, right? And you call them and they help you walk through the process. The people that work on that end probably think these computers are trouble, right? All I ever get is calls about what's going wrong, right? And that can be a very helpful kind of situation to be in. And that's kind of where I operate a lot, is a lot of people come to me. People join the trade group and they say, oh, I'm not having, I'm joining the group. And I want to do a one-on-one session. I want to do some trainings with you because I've been trading for 5 years and haven't had the success or haven't had the, the profits and so on that I've wanted to see. And so it's been very helpful for me because I've been able to gather a lot of data over the years, a lot of data about things that work and things that don't work, and typical missteps that traders make, and typical problems that kind of hold traders back, right? So I would like to, obviously, in the many years of working with traders, that's, it creates a lot of information, and we're not going to go through all of it right now, but I had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share with everybody this morning. And it reminds me, if you go to this area right here and you get the free access, where I've got, several videos here of just kind of some free information. One of them is dedicated to this in general, right? This, or excuse me, in particular, where I talk about, the things that I have kind of experienced and seen traders do, right? And some of the things such as, revenge trading, right? I just lost, money, so I'm going to swing at the market really hard and see what I can get out of it. And I'm trading because, I'm not having kind of the right kinds of reasons and so on. So what I want to discuss today is a lot of that, and just make sure that we're all kind of on the right track with everything. And I want to do that because, number one, I think it'll be very useful and valuable for you guys as traders, and number two, because I make video updates all day, every day. I mean, not all day, but I update you guys with market analysis like crazy in the morning, and I do it again, at night, every day, and you guys have a pretty good idea of the things that we're looking at in the group to trade. So I want to make sure that we kind of have some general education to go along with that. So let's spend just a couple of minutes talking a little bit about the market movement in general, and how we did this week. How did everybody do this week? I think we had some pretty easy, fantastic trades to get into, and everything worked out pretty well. So You know, I feel like there was some pretty good, pretty easy, pretty excellent profits for us to work with, and that's awesome. That's awesome. So everyone have a good week. Good, Sharon. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Here's some of the recommendations we discussed in, and we'll just talk about this for a moment. Here's the watch list, and here's kind of what we wanted to trade this week. And I think we did a pretty good job catching most of everything that I and hopefully we wanted to catch. I don't know why I don't have the CAD Swiss on the watch list, but that obviously was sent out many times during the week. But, you know, some things that we wanted to see happen this week. Number one, we wanted to get this, we wanted to get this Euro-Yen going, right? We wanted to get the Euro-Yen really kind of working and giving us the movement that we wanted to see. So I was looking for breakouts, just looking for breakouts. This thing actually ended up giving us a little bit of a push higher, and then it broke out and ran like crazy. See the price right there? 130.67. Where is the Euro-Yen currently? Just down like a son of a gun. Euro-Yen just ran so beautifully well and made us just some great profit. Did anybody get into the Euro-Yen besides myself? And I'm pretty sure there were people out there that did, because I saw a lot of comments in the chat and so on. But the Euro-Yen was just a beautiful, beautiful mover. Good, Sharon, good. Hopefully it was short. Hopefully there was some nice movement there. Okay, Bo, missed some of it. Did you get some of it? Okay, caught some, missed some. That's all right. That's all right. So Euro-Yen just did what we wanted to see it do, right? Which was it bounced around a little bit. I posted right at kind of the start of the week, I said, let's be ready for this guy. Let's get that break. And I kind of had this little secondary trend line and hopped around here a little bit, made one last little stab higher, and then just started to move like crazy. So the first breakout that we had, so if we go over here and we look at, what was the beginning of this week? Beginning of the week was, okay, the 21st was Monday. So let's go back to the 21st. What do we have here? So Euro-Yen, there's 22nd, there's 20, what is that? Okay, there we go. So we had some pretty good things to watch starting this week out. Here's the 21st. Here's our Monday. Come on, Euro-Yen, make a run for us. That's what we were looking for. Break out, make a move, and away it went. So first initial run was we were looking for just getting a move into kind of these lows and the 130 area, into those lows, and it just plowed right through everything. So made a very nice little run with basically no retracement for the first, let's see here. So I had that first, almost no pullback whatsoever for the first 225, 30 pips. I mean, just banged out the pips on that one. Yen pairs, I've said this so many times, I can't even keep track, but yen pairs are so great when the setup is great. Yen pairs are the worst when we're trying to do something that's not ready to happen. And I've been in the boat. I've tried to do things that aren't ready to happen. And yen pairs are the worst ones to try to go against and manage and work with and so on. So when the setup is good, there's nothing better to trade than a yen pair. But when it's not, they're the least forgiving probably of all currency, everything out there. So yen pairs are just really great in that area. And so very nice to see, just a nice 200 plus pip run just like that. Bam, whammo. And so what did we follow it up with after that? It made its run, and I said, let's just be ready to short any kinds of pullbacks. And our next chart and next recommendation was this, I think, right? So that was that. Okay, so I already talked about that. And then the next recommendation to follow along here was just taking it chronologically on down here. The gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so here was a 15-minute chart on the Euro-Yen. looking to see if we can get back up into this area. But nonetheless, when I post this kind of stuff, say I'm just looking for a break of a trend line here. This started to pull back just a little bit, consolidate in this short-term channel. We had a strong run and a strong move. We had a yen-friendly environment in that there was kind of some market spooking going on, and the yen was just going crazy. And so we had that nice little pullback, and that was this simple little setup and trade right here. So this started to pull back, made a break. Took a little bit of time getting out of that, and just started dropping again, and that was kind of the second entry. So, breakout area 128.85, and here it is, 127.25 again. So then it broke out and ran another, 150, 60 pips. Wham. So just a really good little move there. So we had kind of an initial 200 pip run, and then another 150 pip run. And it's just behaving so well. So anyway, I hope everyone was able to profit on this euro yen, because it was just the greatest. Chris entered a couple times on that one, 240 pips total, exit at 127.50. Chris, that could not make me any happier than to hear that. That is very, very good. That is exactly what we want to do on this trade right here. So very nicely done. Very, very nicely done. So congrats, Chris, and congrats to everybody that hopefully grabbed some bucks on this euro yen. It just behaved so well for us. And here's what we have, here's what we have to look forward to, right? In one of my, let's see, I think in the video, I think I posted this on the chart as well, but maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, so I mentioned this on the 23rd, which I believe was 2 days ago, maybe. Said this was the suggested move. We're looking to stay short into 125. The pair remains very bearish, below 129.30. 127 is a pretty important level of support, possible place to take profit. Overall, though, we're remaining short into that target of 125. So what we saw happen here on this euro yen was it hit 127. It came down kind of this 127, 50, 60, 70 area, had a little bit of a bounce, pushed up, 80 pips or so, and then kind of continued to drop and make its move down there. So we had a little reaction that 127.50 zone, but it's just making its way back, making its way on down, and it's doing exactly what we hoped it would do this week. I'm very happy to see that. Now, we still have over 200 pips to get to our profit target. So if you're out, if the trade has happened for you and you're already out of the trade, there's going to be more opportunity to jump in. But this will kind of go in line with some of the things that I want to discuss this morning outside of just typical market analysis. So I'll try to kind of tie it in here just a little bit. Here are things that I hear very, very regularly, right? Which is, okay, this is going down, so we should be short. Yes, true, but also true in the right kind of context, right? So this is running down. I mean, it's had basically just a straight move down. I mean, there's 4 bearish daily candles just like that. Wow. So we want to, we still want to target this. No part of us at this point whatsoever is interested in getting long. So that's totally off the table. There's no buying interest on this euro yen at all. So so there's no buying dips, trying to trade me little corrections yet at this point. But does that mean that it's a good idea for us to just, if you already took your profit, like Chris did, for example, 250 pips, which is just so excellent, do we jump back in? If you're already out of this, is it time to just jump back in because we've still got 200 pips to go before we get to our profit target? What do we do on this thing? What do we do? We've got a couple of scenarios we can work with here, right? Number one, we can trade any pullbacks, which is exactly what we had right here. All right, so this little move right here, which gave us a nice little pullback and good reason to continue, shorting this and getting back in. We can wait for that. you can work on, pulling profits, adding, taking away, and using your money management on down to these lows. If you're already out and this thing doesn't pull back whatsoever and just continues moving straight down, which it wouldn't really do. I mean, we'd at least get some consolidation sideways. We're looking for any confirmation to continue trading this lower. Confirmation almost always in some sort of a trend like this comes in the form of exactly what we saw right here. Big run down, pullback, short-term channel or trend line, sell the break. Going with the trend, just selling the break. Looking for pullbacks to these little imbalance levels, right? To missed daily pivot points. Some amount of retracements and then entering in on those breakouts and on those little channel breaks to take it lower. So if this thing, for example, just keeps pushing lower and it hits 125 today, then and you're out of the trade, then you've taken your profit and you're done, and the next 200 pips are untradeable. Now, what will happen most likely is we'll get some consolidation, we'll get some retracement, it'll give us one more chance and one more stab at trading it into that lower level. But the thing that we don't ever want to do is just trade something because it's going up or going down. We've got to make sure that we've got clean confirmation and good reasons to get in to whatever trade that we're getting into. Okay, Euro Yen, very nice little trade. And if you are out of it, if you did take your profits, which is very, very excellent, then we're waiting. We're waiting for this thing to pull back. We're waiting for it to give us some confirmation, and we'll be waiting for it to continue moving into that 125. And right now is a pretty good environment for the yen, and so hopefully we'll continue to see some yen strength there. The euro is weak, and and that's the other thing, right? Whenever we can find a strong and a weak one, that's how we want to trade this. And so weak euro, strong yen, wham! Let's take this thing like crazy. Now, what do we always have to be aware of as well on a movement like this? We've got to be aware of exhaustion. We've got to be aware of something kind of, running out of steam, and we're going to be looking at areas to kind of continue to trade this short, right? But we also want to make sure that we're not staying in this thing too long, and that we're 200 pips, 250 pips in profit, and we sit in it and watch it pull back to 50 pips profit. So we're getting some early signs here, right? We've got a couple of daily pivot points. There's 2 consecutive daily pivots that are kind of lining up. We have these great little imbalance levels where we get that consolidation, strong move, consolidation, strong move. We've got 2 levels up there that are getting a little overextended as well. So we're starting to get some early signs that this is a strong run, and we want to stay with it. But as well, we want to make sure that we're paying attention to kind of those signs of momentum. Okay. All right. Okay, Joseph. So getting in now and entering on pullbacks. Yeah. That's definitely not a bad idea. And strength, chef strength. All right. Yep, and that's absolutely true. And it's good to know. General market conditions, because specifically, and that's a good point, specifically yen and Swiss franc pairs are those safe haven currencies. And so when we get kind of crazy political turmoil, those guys always rally and always make some nice moves there. So it's good to kind of know that. Okay, good point. Very good points. Okay, good. And so we want to, basically what I want to do is make sure that the awareness is up. Right, guys? I want to make sure that everyone is thinking about how you want to handle future situations. The thing that I don't want, like this trade group to be, and me to be, is just the spoon feeder, right? And so I structure this group in a certain way that I give you guys information and instruction and market analysis. I want you guys to act on that, right? There's countless groups out there where they just say, buy at whatever price, sell at whatever price. I don't care if you know why that is or whatever, and just go for it. And then, everyone's happy when everything works, and everyone's mad when things are, not behaving, and so on and so on. What I want to do is I want to make sure that you understand kind of the scenarios here, right? What the analysis is. Here's the setup to take. This is why I say, like on this setup right here, sell the breakout. That's why I'm not saying, hey guys, get in at 130, 91.5. No, sell the breakout. That's what we care about. We care about the setup, not the price. Because, and this is going to take me to one of my other points this morning, but what we want to do is, manage our positions so that we can get in on those early parts of confirmation and slowly be, building our positions and adding to our positions. But, trading on the confirmation, but being prepared for kind of a scenario B and a scenario C and so on. So that's why I very rarely post enter at this price. I don't care about the price. I care about the setup. I care about the confirmation. All right. So enough about that. That's good stuff. Questions, comments? Good questions, good comments so far. You guys with me? Does anybody have any thoughts, any questions about that? Are you in agreement, in disagreement, in disarray? Everyone good there? Okay, so yes, we're going to definitely discuss this New Zealand dollar. Oh, the trade of the trades. So we'll talk about New Zealand dollar, absolutely. But let's talk about for a moment here. Let's talk about the next thing that we were super pressing on and making sure that we're kind of looking at what we're trying to trade this week. New Zealand dollar was just, or excuse me, New Zealand dollar we're going to discuss, but CAD Swiss was just one that we've been stocking, right? So definitely CAD Swiss was a really good one this week that we wanted to trade the heck out of, and we certainly did. So CAD Swiss kind of started us off on this business right here, right? Remember, wanted to trade this, stops above the highs, big rising channel, and we had that nice breakout, and we had all that resistance up at 79.50, 8,000. Pullback, sell the break. So what did the CAD Swiss do for us this week? What did it do for us this week? Well, here is that chart. Here was that. I had to clean up some of the trend lines and so on. There was that pullback, and it just broke out and ran so beautifully for us. Initial run was, just about my let's see, where's CAD Swiss over here? So this was on the 22nd, right? So shorts at 7,800, stops above 78.70, targeting 7,600, and whammo. So what do we have? We had this nice little run from 7,800. It just went straight down with hardly a bullish candle on the hour chart. We had one little bullish candle right there for 5 pips and another one for a couple of pips right here. But basically, we just had like 20 bearish candles from 7,800 down to 76.65 area. Beautiful little run there. Very easy trade to grab some profits on. Did everybody get into that, by the way? Everyone get an entry on CAD Swiss short? Because we had two very clear opportunities. This was number one. This takes us back to hold on here. Hold on. There we go. This takes us back to, I think that was on the 22nd. So that was Tuesday. So we had this opportunity on Tuesday right there. Everyone get in on that CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss. Good, Sharon. Excellent. Good, Joseph. All right. Anyone else get CAD Swiss, or just a couple of you guys? And it was our trade of the day for sure, to say the very least. Who else got some CAD Swiss? Who else got into a little bit of CAD Swiss with us in the group this week? 2 people, huh? Nobody wants to celebrate the CAD Swiss. All right. I'm sure there's more out there, but you guys are feeling silent this morning. So I want you to warm up your participation skills, because it's going to be a heavy participation morning. So we're far from done. So CAD Swiss made a nice little run for us, broke out. And then what was the next opportunity that we had here? So beautiful breakout, made the run, wham. There we go. And then what did it do? It was so nice, and it just started to just pull back, made that nice little move there, and I just kind of was keeping everyone abreast on that. And then we had this nice little pullback here that was posted right here, looking for opportunities to keep shorting this guy. So what did it do? It made a run. We had a daily pivot. We had some levels up here we were watching, and this was just consolidating in this channel right here. And that was this guy. I posted that on the 15-minute chart. So I drew this in here, and we had that little consolidation. What did it do? Ran up, hit some pivot points, and then just started to make a run. It actually ran just about to the top of my drawing there, so that was nice. And then it just broke out, and what did it do? Made a massive push once again. So we had that nice big initial run, and then we had this follow-up right here for another 100 pips. So that's great. And CAD Swiss is still not all the way to our targets. We had a weekly pivot point that was talked about here, and we've hit that a couple of times. And now we've got this monthly pivot point that's sitting down here, and this is that 7,600 target that I've been talking about. Now, the monthly pivot is kind of where I want to take this. I'm sure we have some good opportunity to take it lower, but this is kind of the initial point that I'm shooting for right now. Let's see, Chris in at 77.87, out at 76.88. Good work, man, good work. Re-entered at 7,700, still open on that one. Man, love that. That is so nicely done. Great, Chris. That is awesome. Good for you. Sharon looking for 7,500. Okay, I like that. I like that. Way to go. Hey, someone's got some camera going. I don't know how I do that, but we'll just do that right there. It's nice to see whoever was on there with us. Always good to have some participants there. Okay, so Sharon, you're looking for 7,500, and that's great. Yeah, and that's a good point, Joseph. Targets are equally as important as entries. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So our targets here, speaking of which, come from a couple of different things. So remember, this was kind of the whole reason we wanted to get into this CAD Swiss in the first place, right? We wanted to get into this thing from this 3+ year channel, 3.5 year channel that the CAD Swiss has been in. And it's, we're approaching the highs, right? We had this really strong run up. We had this run from 70, the low right here was about 72, just a tiny bit above 7,200, and the high was just above 7,800. So, we had a 600 pip run on the CAD Swiss, which is a pretty big move for this pair. So anytime we have a long run like that, and we have some larger patterns in play, we want to be all over that kind of stuff. And so what we saw happen here was just running to the top of a multi-year channel, and a lot of resistance here, lots of highs back here, 200 moving average, all this stuff from the weekly chart. So that's why I said, let's short the heck out of this thing. And it helped that we had a bit of an overextended CAD. It helped that, there was a little bit of market turmoil the last, economic turmoil, I guess, political turmoil the last week or two, which has kind of helped, again, Swiss franc and yen pairs really start to move. And so then we just started seeing some breakouts, and this thing just made a beautiful move for us and has run very nicely. So as far as, as other bigger targets go, here's our monthly pivot. There's a 200 moving average on the daily chart. That's why I'm kind of saying let's really kind of just see if we can get this thing into 7,600 and then see where it goes from there. We still do have a weekly pivot. We've got a monthly pivot all the way back here at 7,350. We've got all kinds of stuff happening there. And if we start to see a pretty intense sell-off, continuing on CAD pairs, then that monthly pivot is going to be something to look for as well, 7,350. And 7,500 is kind of a good general area, Sharon, on CAD Swiss. That's kind of this nice little midpoint that this thing has just been in for the last, long while. That's just right down the middle of all that consolidation. And that's also valuable as well, because when we see these kind of big swings up and down, up and down, up and down, trading to midpoints is a very useful, kind of handy technique. So that's great. Sharon, thoughts on being out of Swiss pairs for the monetary reform on June 10th? So here's the thing. Anytime we have, big economic meetings and such that, where we get a lot of, international leaders together and so on, there can always be big movement. Jackson Hole, where all the central bankers get together. There's always some big movement coming out of that, and those types of situations. So it's good to remember we're fairly short-term traders, and I say that in the way that even if we sit in trades for days and days and days or weeks and weeks, we're short-term traders in that we can easily get in and out of the market. Right, and we can easily kind of adjust our situations on a fairly regular basis. We're not an institution that owns 25 million shares of, Apple, right? That's going to be hard to unwind if something crazy happens with an economic situation. So what I would say is kind of, watch conditions and watch as we approach those times, but do absolutely expect some volatility and expect some, be prepared for some surprise, unexpected movement. And that way it's not so surprising and not so unexpected. But yes, keep an eye on those big news announcements and just watch as we get there. And if it's close enough to your profit target, then consider just exiting and letting the news hit, kind of letting things go from there. So, absolutely, positively. Okay, so we're looking we're definitely looking for some pullback. Anybody that's out of CAD Swiss, we're looking for some pullback and some opportunities to continue trading that down to 7,600, potentially 7,500, like Sharon's watching there, and beyond. So great trade on CAD Swiss. Hopefully everybody benefited from that and made some good money there. Between the Euro Yen and the CAD Swiss, those were just two easy, nice trades that just behaved and just did well. Okay, I'm pretty curious. Did anybody, and I didn't do too much on this one myself, other than talk about it on Monday, and then I didn't really follow up too well with you guys on this. Did anybody do anything on dollar yen? Anyone do anything on dollar yen? Because this was turned out to be a really, really good move this week, and the confirmation was pretty clear, and it was all pretty much right in front of us. But I just didn't talk about it too much more after Monday. Did anybody participate in any of this dollar yen movement? Because this thing ended up, all the yen pairs kind of moved fairly well, but here's our charts of comparison here. So dollar yen, this is an hourly chart. We had that first little channel and then this second channel. Short-term run and then longer-term run through that with an eye on that monthly pivot. And here's what dollar yen did. Short-term move for a nice little chunk of pips, and then longer-term move. It's already in this kind of longer-term territory, working its way down into these targets, which are all around 107 to 108 area. And it was a pretty textbook, pretty clean move, right? This just ran down, it consolidated, broke out, retested, pushed lower, broke out, retested, pulled back, pushed lower, and it's just really played out nicely. So very good move on that dollar yen, along with the euro yen, and along with a lot of the other yen pairs. So very nice little run there, very well played out. So if anybody did get into that, congrats. Congratulations. Okay, thoughts, guys? What are you thinking? How's everyone feeling so far? We've had some nice trades this week. We've had some good things play out. Here was, I'll talk a little bit about some of these guys as well. But our Aussie CAD trade, this one just didn't give enough pullback for me, and so I didn't get in as much of this as I wanted to. The Aussie CAD was just such a good, clean little setup here, right? We're looking for that run into 97.50. We've been talking about this trend line breakout forever. We've been talking about this run into 97.50 forever. And what we ended up seeing happen on this Aussie CAD was it made it all the way up there. It made it beyond there, but we never really got any pullback, and that made it kind of tough. So if any of you guys got some entries on that, I hope some of you guys did. I hope some of you guys made money on this. This is a trade we've been watching for a long time, and it just started here and just kind of went there. So I wasn't really able to re-enter here. I had some entries, on this move back here, but never, I was hoping for a pullback into that weekly, daily pivot area, and then a push into that monthly pivot, and it just never gave it to us. It just kind of kept going from the initial trade, which is great because this was one thing we were looking for as well. Breakout, buy this thing, and let it run up to 97.50. It just never gave us, kind of that typical pullback that we see so often on this pair. So Aussie CAD was a really great, really clean, good setup. Good. Okay, Joseph. Good. All right. Got in on that one. Yeah. It's this thing. This thing can really just crank when it cranks. I like the Aussie CAD a lot because it's not a trade that will cause you a lot of trouble. Yen pairs, you got to be careful on scaling into those. You got to be careful on fighting that movement. Aussie CAD is just a steady mover. Even on this big run right here. Made this big run, and and it's up a good little chunk. I mean, it ran from 96.20 to 98.20 basically here, so 200 pips of movement. But it did take a little bit of time to get there. That's a week of just kind of sitting in that thing to grab 200 pips, which is excellent. But yeah, this is making a nice push and a nice move. So absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good point, Joseph. This thing can kind of move and not really pull back so much, which is exactly what we did see on this, on this big run down, right? Miss pivot, miss pivot, miss pivot, just boom, 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 all the way down. And now it's hitting this. We've talked about this time and time again. 9,600 being our decision point, and it chopped around there a little bit, and looks like decision made, and it's headed back up into some of these targets. So what I want to look at here is I want to look at, opportunities to still trade back up into these areas. But now at this point, I will definitely wait for some more pullback on this and wait for this thing to kind of get down here just a little bit, which hopefully will give us and give us some nice opportunities to trade into those upper areas. So good, good, and good, and good, and good. All right, so Aussie CAD was great. We did have a little trade on the Aussie dollar this week that I was looking at. My recommendation, there's plenty of time to get out of this thing, was buy this breakout, and as it kind of chopped around here, I said, let's get out of this thing. Let's get out of it if we got in long, and let's look for a better amount of confirmation to trade. So it was easy to get out with a little bit of profit or break even, and I still like this. I still like this head and shoulders pattern, this neckline, all these big targets up here, but we're still staring at some dollar strength. So this thing might just not be ready yet. We might need to see a little more, of this kind of stuff right here. And maybe it's going to create a little bit of a get a little wedge, a little triangle kind of in the works here. We just kind of have to see how this plays out. And so I'm gonna watch that area. I'm gonna watch that setup, and and be ready for whatever the movement is likely to be. So good. Sharon, still in Aussie CAD. Did anyone sell Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie? Very nice. Good, Sharon. Great. Aussie CAD, beautiful trade. I did not participate in Euro Aussie or Pound Aussie at all, which is too bad, because it did move. Aussie pairs have been on a really nice run for sure this week, and yeah, I didn't get into any of those. I tend, I'm leaning personally towards some of these pairs that are just so volatile like that. You got to be careful on yen pairs. You got to be careful on things like Euro New Zealand and Euro CAD and Euro Aussie and Pound CAD. Those ones are great when the setup is crystal clear and they can really just run away without you, hundreds and hundreds of pips in any direction on very little warning. And so I tend to kind of be a little extra cautious with those guys, but they were very, very good movers this this week. So congrats, Sharon. Way to go. Way to jump in there and grab some bucks on that thing. Okay, so Aussie dollar, we're waiting. We're going to see how this thing plays out. Aussie New Zealand just consolidated to death, trying to get to that 110 target. So we've seen some things happen there. Okay, so a couple of last minute items here. We're going to talk about this New Zealand dollar, and I want to talk about pound dollar, and I want to talk about euro dollar as well. I want to talk about the rest of these dollar pairs quickly, and kind of how we can kind of trade with these guys, because I talked this week about being interested in, looking for reasons to kind of start trading this thing higher, this euro dollar and so on. And we had a little breakout, we had a little run, we had a little move that I was kind of watching for there. And it looks like, dollar pairs are still just pushing. And I think the euro dollar in particular, we're seeing a lot of euro weakness, and we're seeing, there's a lot of dollar strength still in the works, but particularly there's some pretty good euro weakness here, and this thing just doesn't look like it's ready to go yet. And we may need to kind of just watch some, continue to watch some breakouts and watch some confirmation on this thing. But I'm very much not anxious to get into this euro dollar any sooner than is the right time. Now, I think the dollar move is going to be a big move. I think it's going to be a really, really good move when that time happens. And I talked about, the 1/1600s this week, right? I talked about I want to see the 1/1600s on euro dollar, which we're down around. We're down in the mid to high 1/1600s here. We've got this big trend line right here that it's starting to kind of run into. We've got these big lows, this big support level, about 1/1600, 115.85 area. So there's some good support there, and the euro dollar's had a big run, right? 124, 116, and that's a big push. So this is a great area to start finding some support, start finding some of these. That was a target from way back when that I wanted to see hit. It was hit. Now we kind of have this, this support down here we're going to keep an eye on. But the dollar's strong, and we want to be careful. That's why on New Zealand dollar, I'm not aggressively adding to anything yet, because I want to let this dollar movement kind of play out more, and then we'll be ready to kind of jump into this and make that move. But euro dollar and pound dollar, I'm going to be very, very cautious, very conservative about entering these long. And as soon as they're a little more ready, we start to get a little more confirmation. We start getting above hourly moving averages, hourly channels, and all that stuff. That's going to be some early great signs of confirmation. So I'm kind of just sitting out of pound dollar, euro dollar until we get a little more confirmation to the upside. But I think these are going to be nice recovery trades to get into whenever we get the confirmation. I don't think we've got it yet. So what we want to do in relation to all of this, and New Zealand dollar absolutely as well, is we want to make sure that a couple of thoughts, a couple of plans, a couple of ideas here is money management. We got to make sure our money management's good. We got to make sure that there's enough gas left in the tank to really add to any of these positions that are looking to be kind of long-term trades. We got to make sure that we've got enough to add to that when the time is right, and so that's where money management's going to be great. So a couple of thoughts I had regarding this and regarding some things to watch here. Just things that have kind of stuck out to me, right? Money management, making sure that that we know what our trading plan is, short versus long-term trading. Are finding customizing our trading for ourselves, for our schedules, for our time zones, for our everything, and looking for some short-term profits versus long-term, big home runs, and being patient about this. And I think all of these can apply to us on all of these trades, right? For example, money management. How many times have we gotten into positions too heavily and not managed our risk well enough, and not, not done it the way that we know we should? And somehow we do this over and over again, right? And not we, and I'm not categorizing you guys here, but as I work with traders and as I see, what people are doing, one of the benefits that I have is I see everybody's accounts, right? People show me the trades that they do, and we have to sit and discuss it and say, okay, here is a trade that you took. Tell me why you took this trade. And most of the time there's this, I don't know, the market was going down, so I entered, and it was going up, so I entered. Why did you get in here? I don't know, and so we've got to make sure that, you've got a plan and you've got good reasons to take whatever trade you're taking. And you can only have those good reasons if the reasons that you're chasing after for the entry are things that have worked in the past and show some pretty good results and pretty good consistency, right? That they tend to work, and you're just kind of trying to make the best of, working those criteria into your plan. Pivot points are always good. 200 moving average, we know that stuff works, and so we just kind of have to kind of formulate that into our trading style, or whatever items that you're looking for in particular. You've got to make sure that it really works, that it's got a proven track record, and that you can incorporate it into your trading style. So, making that plan, sticking to that plan. Money management. Now, this goes in line very much with this situation right here as well. Here's a really easy concept, and probably not one that that's talked about as often as I think it should be. Here's a simple idea. If you have a tight stop loss, or you're kind of short-term trading and use larger position sizes and smaller stop losses, statistically speaking, you're going to get stopped out more. The closer your stop loss is, the more you're going to get stopped out. The larger your stop loss or your risk point is, the less you're going to get stopped out. Just statistically speaking, if we have more room to run versus less room to run, we're going to hit those parameters more often on the less room to run area, both upside and downside, right? We're going to have our profit targets hit less or more slowly on the long-term side. But we're also going to have our stop losses hit sooner, more on the short-term versus the long-term side. So I want you guys to kind of think about every trade. You don't have to say, I'm a short-term trader only, or I'm a long-term trader only. And some people are. Some people just say, all I want to do is the long-term run. All I want to do is the short-term run. And it's a very much personality-based kind of situation. Are you a high intensity stress tolerant kind of person? Then short-term trading is going to be your thing, right? Or can be your thing. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And some people get pretty stressed out with trying to beat the market every day. And statistically speaking, nobody really beats the market every day. The biggest, best, most successful traders and hedge funds out there don't beat the market every day. We don't beat the market on every trade. We don't win all the time. Somebody jumped in the chat the other day and said, I've been trading for a bunch of years. You guys are the kind of people that only talk about your winning trades. And no, we're not. We're going to have losses. We're going to have trades that just don't work. We're going to have things that just don't go the way that we want them to go. But that is, that's part of trading. And so, I want you guys to sit and kind of think about what type of trader you are, or how do you want to, and this isn't like a, Democrats, Republicans, conservative, liberal, this isn't any of that. It's not like I'm in one or the other camp. It's what kind of trade is this that I'm in right now? Is this a short-term trade with a larger position and a tighter stop and a tighter profit target? Or is this position a longer-term one with a looser stop and a larger profit target? So you don't have to say what kind of trader you are, just what kind of trade is this that you're in today, right now, right this moment. Does anybody here like to kind of build positions and get into long-term runs and start small and is okay with drawdown and looks for the bigger, longer, better push? Does anybody like that, and does anybody hate that? Who likes to build a position and let it run and benefit when it finally makes its turn and makes its push? And who hates that? Who hates to kind of just sit in a trade? Who wants to just, I want to make profit immediately and I got to get in and I got to get out? Sharon, yeah, and Sharon, I know you do. I know you like to build those positions and let them run and let them play out. And I know you've done. I think you've done very well doing that, right? Looking for kind of the big swings and the big moves. I think you've done really well making that kind of trade style and trade plan. Good, good. Anyone else? Who else likes to get down with that kind of trading? I do. I love it. I love it to death because what we see happen here is, you know, when we see these big movements, right? When we see you know, euro dollar, right? How much have we talked about this thing? Oh, hey, this is coming up to a 10-year channel high, and what did it do? It just plows off that 10-year channel high. It hits it to the pip practically and dives off that thing by by a huge amount. And so when we're trading long-term positions and we're trading these big runs, and it could be something very simple, right? Like, hey, the euro dollar has been running up for a year and a half, and it ran up from 104 to 125. It ran up 2,000 pips into a major resistance level. What is the likely scenario to happen here? Well, likely scenario is we're going to hit long-term resistance after a 2,000 pip rally. We're going to see this thing come back down again, and that's exactly what it did. Who here did not remember us in the group talking about this over and over and over and over and over again? So, long-term trading is that kind of stuff, looking for those big pushes, building positions up into those levels, and just, reaping the benefits on big swings and big movements. But the thing is with trading is that doesn't work for everybody. Some people get too stressed out sitting in trades, don't like to have drawdown, don't like to kind of let the big picture play out, want to make some quick profits, and that's okay too. There's different strokes for different folks, as they say. And so some people just want to be in and out of the market. Now, it's important to know the statistics, though, and the statistics are pretty clear on all this. And Sharon, that's a good point. You also do some short-term trades as well, mostly mid-term on average, which is great. But statistics are, very clear, and brokers have published these numbers for years and years, and I've read through all of them, and I've seen I've seen it all. And that is short-term trading, just simply speaking, numbers-wise, higher risk and has more potential of loss, right? People that trade short-term take many more losses, and you have to have a really good system. You have to have a really good proven kind of methodology and way that you approach the short-term market. So it's not that you have to take more losses if you're a short-term trader, but typically that's how it works. Because for us to think that we're going to have, that we're going to get the exact entry to the pip on the market, and that it's going to turn exactly where our entry was because of whatever reason, and that it's going to turn exactly, and it's going to go to exactly this area because of whatever reason. Markets run to moving averages, they run to pivot points, they run to support and resistance levels, they run to trend lines and channels and so on. That happens. That definitely happens. But for us to think that we're going to get exact entries, long and short, and that our stop loss is going to be perfect is a bit preposterous, right? And this is why I lean towards, let's trade this area. If this breakout can hold, great. If it doesn't hold, let's take a loss. And if we know it's going to be a longer term trade, then we're going to build a position. We're going to build something that we can scale into and we can add to and really kind of make work for us. So it's kind of, it's trade styles, right? It's trade styles. And like I said, you don't have to identify yourself as a long-term trader or a short-term trader. You have to say, what is this trade? What is this trade? Is this a long trade or a short-term trade? New Zealand dollar is exactly that. New Zealand dollar made this big run right here, same kind of thing. We ran all the way from, 7,400 and just plows down into, 68 and change. Pretty big move for what this pair has been doing. But this is what I like, right? This is where I say, okay, this is a trade that I want to make sure that I get into. We have this big channel that takes us all the way back here that's been, nicely in play for the last 2 years of just running into resistance, running into support, running into resistance, running into support. And so now as we approach this support, I wanted to build a position. We had a lot of really short-term and medium-term high probability targets that started adding up very, very quickly. Many missed pivots and imbalance levels and moving averages and all this stuff, which is the reason that I started building a position here. And so now as we kind of approach this big channel low here, and again, knowing that this is a longer term trade, we're just going to be adding to that position as we get, that better confirmation around this 6,800 area that, that it's going to be able to hold and that it's going to, do what we need it to do. And we should be able to get a nice little trade back up on that. This is also going into the time of year that we have, May is kind of that big push time, right? We get a big push all in the month of May, and this one started in April, which definitely happens, and I've seen it start in March even as well. But this is that time where we get that big push, and now we're coming into June, we're coming into summertime, and the volume really cools down, and we can start really working with some of this. But guess what? After adding to this position and getting out some profit, which we will do, I'm absolutely going to be looking at this euro or New Zealand dollar for a move down here. So is it just going to plow through that and make a big push to that level? I guess it could. And I'm positioned nicely enough that if, that my money management's good, I knew that this was a long-term trade. We talked about that, 100 times on here. That, if it does make a big run and it's just not behaving off this area, then, there's points where we have to take a loss and say, okay, I was wrong about the trade, and now it's time to move on. But one thing remains true, and that is that markets just go up and down, and they go up and down. And this thing is probably not going to drop forever and never come back. So we've got a lot of really great high probability targets here, but to make this trade work, we have to know the answers to these questions right here, right? Was this within my plan? How was my money management? What type of trade was this? Making this all work, knowing that this is a longer term position that we're building into. And what's this going to be? Is this going to be a base hit or a home run? Well, could be somewhere in the middle. We could make some really good profit on this thing, but it might just be something we make some decent bucks on and we move on to the next one. So I get a lot of traders that come to me and say, hey, I've just quit my job. I'm ready to, I'm ready to be a full-time trader. And base hit does not fit into their vocabulary. It's all got to be home runs because they got a mortgage to make and bills to pay and mouths to feed and all of that stuff. It's a hard position to be in, right? Because as traders, most of the time, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get a first base. We're going to get a second base. We're going to make little chunks, make chunks. And that's why, in the long-term trading strategy, we have to have really good money management, because even though we're looking for a long-term trade, it may not be, hey, I'm going to make 500 pips and that's going to be, a 30% increase on my account on this one trade. No, it might still only be a couple of percent of increase. And so our trade size has to be much more conservative, and we have to be much more careful on that whole side of things. So I want you guys to think about this stuff. If you haven't gone to the website and looked at this right here, which is, the free videos where I talk about kind of all of that stuff, go have a look. Make sure you run through that scenario there. It's really good stuff. Frank, nice to see you, Frank. I'd rather get in, make my dollars, and get out with the context of the market doing, of what the market is doing longer term. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, Frank. And Frank, I'm with you on that. But again, I definitely think there are, there's always two ways we can go on that, right? If there's a good, clean, shorter term setup, I like to take that. But in general, I lean much more towards let's build a position, let's trade the longer term movement, because beating the market day by day, well, it's literally basically not possible. And as optimistic as we all want to be about that, it's just, it's impossible to beat the market every day. It's impossible to make money every single day. It just doesn't happen. Now, what does happen is, is hopefully managing our risk, being on the right side of the market as much as possible, and and being consistently on the growing side of our account. Are we making money, weekly, and more specifically monthly, and even more specifically yearly? Is our account growing year after year? Are we headed in that right direction? Keep in mind, guys, I've seen all kinds of crazy things happen within the trade group as well. I've seen people, make thousands of percentage points. I've had multiple traders at this point. There was one trader that, he ultimately burned himself out, but he was a longtime client of mine, and I watched him. We would talk. He wanted to do sessions with me on a regular basis, and he paid a lot of money to do it. And he and I would talk a couple of times a week, and I watched him, make so much money and lose so much money. And I watched him take an account from $1,200 to $25,000 in honestly about like a 6-week period. I mean, he was nuts, right? And his risk was high and it was crazy. And of course, I also watched him lose $125,000 on a single trade. And so, there's that kind of mentality that we've got to be careful of. There's a lot of money to be made in this market, but usually that kind of has to come with a lot of risk. So I want everybody to kind of think about those details. What kind of trades do you tend to lean towards? And, and you don't have to, like I said, be completely trapped in one or the other. I'm only a short-term trader. I'm only a long-term trader, because I don't believe in that. I also don't believe in technical analysis only or fundamental analysis only. I think we have to be well-rounded, and we have to do all of these things. But I want you to kind of think about, what you want to see in a long-term trade and what you want to see in a short-term trade. And if you're not having the success that you want to have in your trading, think about why that is. Think about, what things you may need to do differently to make that happen. And I'm here to help, guys. I'm definitely here to help. But if you find that you're just getting killed on short-term trades constantly, maybe it's time to, number one, examine the exact entries you're taking. This is a hard thing, right? This is why the whole entire therapy industry exists, because people don't want to kind of look at their own stuff. And as traders, it's a hard thing to do, but we have to look at ourselves and we have to look at our trading account. And what I want you to do is look at your past 5 trades, your past 10 trades, and mark that on the chart and say, okay, I got in, right. My favorite thing to do is use vertical lines, right? I got in right here, and I got in right, and mark that day and that price. I got in right here and right here. What was going on? Why did I take that trade? How does this look now 1 or 2 or 3 days later? What did I miss? What did I do right? What did I do wrong here? I want you to look at your winning trades and try to find 2 or 3 things that are consistently happening. And I want you to look at your losing trades and find 2 or 3 things that are consistently happening. And if you can do that, and you can take a good, honest look at yourself and your trades, you'll absolutely be able to plow through this market. People say practice makes perfect. That's a total lie. Perfect practice makes perfect. And we don't have to be absolutely perfect. But what we do want to do is we want to practice what we're doing, and we want to be refining that constantly. We're not just going to do the same thing over and over and over again until it works, because that won't work. What we have to do is repeat these processes and make sure that in so doing, we're looking, we're adjusting, we're making sure that we see what is actually working and not working, and get rid of the things that aren't and add to the things that that are. So that's what I want to make sure of for everybody here. Good, Sharon. And Sharon, honestly, that's the type of attitude that, people that have that outlook that you have pretty much don't ever come to me and say, hey, I blew up my account, I'm really frustrated. Because if you just stay steady like you're doing, and and you allow the market to breathe, and you're not trying to hit the jackpot on a trade, you will be incredibly successful in this market. Not to say that you can't look for jackpot trades and try to make big money on certain positions, because you can do that as well. But if that's your goal, you're gonna be pretty frustrated and pretty disappointed in this market. But if you just stay steady and don't try to kill it, then you'll have long-term great, fantastic success. So, few things I wanted to kind of discuss and keep in our awareness. Everybody feel okay about that? Does anybody have any questions, any final questions, final comments? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I hope this was a useful and fruitful discussion, and that everybody was able to get something out of this. Did you guys learn something, or is this all just old news and old information and all that? And even if it is old information, was it a good refresher of things we need to keep in mind? Does everybody feel a little bit more well-tooled for another week of trading? What do you guys think? Pure silence. Ooh, okay. I'll let you guys sit on that, stew on it for a little while, but these are things that we need to keep in mind as traders. These are must-watch scenarios. Okay, thanks, Frank. Thank you. Glad it was helpful, and hopefully it was helpful for you guys. I'll post a recording here shortly. Let's keep an eye on that. We'll see you guys next week. It was a good week. We had some great things happening, and I hope that everyone was able to benefit from that. So. Oh, good. Okay, Sharon. Yeah, and I did see your comment on Facebook about that, and I hope all is well with your husband. I know your hands are pretty full, so definitely all the best wishes to you, and we'll definitely be happily welcoming you back to the chat and back to the group more, and we'll be happy to see you in here. But yeah, I hope things are well with you and the family. Good, Frank. Good. Yeah, hopefully an overview was helpful. Excellent. So thanks, guys. Thank you very much. We will not have a live session Monday morning. It's Memorial Day, and I'm going to take a nice long weekend and relax. We have a new baby that is starting to not sleep so much at night, and life is crazy, and I'm super excited about just relaxing for 2 or 3 days and taking it easy. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Okay, guys. That's the spiel. Good, Chris. Been a terrific week. Let the momentum continue. Trade size, keeping it conservative. I love it. I love it. Good, Chris. Very, very good. Thank you, guys. You guys are the best, and I'm always happy to be with you all. You guys are a good bunch of people, and it's my privilege and pleasure to get to spend some time with you guys every week. So thanks, everybody. Have a very happy weekend. Have a very, very excellent Memorial Day weekend for those that in the U.S. that'll be celebrating Memorial Day on Monday. Nice big bank holiday. I'm going to be doing a lot of things that are not work-related, so that'll be fun. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you guys back at the start of next week. Thanks, everyone. Take care. See you all soon.